Hello FTC Alberta, welcome to the Build Blitz video number 3. We're going to be going through the CAD of how to put together a basic drivetrain using the Tetrix kit. Part of this is, you maybe watched the last video and you watched me put together the Studica kit with some laser cut parts. That's more for our veteran teams who want to take this even further. But I know that many of you looking at this are actually rookie teams who are trying to do this for the very first time. And if you're working remotely, you may have a Tetrix kit sitting around, and the best that you have to work with right now is something like the BasicBot. And this will be linked in the description below, but this was one of the ones from Skystone. There may be a different one that gets released by Tetrix for Ultimate Goal. And we just saw the video at this point this morning as I'm recording this, and it's a very cool game with the shooting or launching of the rings through the targets. So it should be lots of fun. That being said, we will try to get something as a basic robot that actually can play that game to a certain degree through these Build Blitz videos, and hopefully get one of these built, or two of these built for real, and actually demonstrate them on the floor here to see how they function in real life and how we can take CAD to reality. Now, this is the basic bot. We're going to build this in CAD with a couple of modifications. I'm going to do it just like the last video. I'm going to talk through the first few things that you need to know in order to make this happen, and then I'm going to speed this whole thing up at about 8 times speed. If you want to slow it down to watch what all the steps are and follow along, slow that YouTube video right down and actually follow along. Again, the goal here is that we have a basic Tetrix bot and we have a little more advanced bot using the Studica kits, and that everybody is able to do this CAD process and present their work to a build team so the build team can build in a small, maybe socially distanced environment and pass it along to other teams so that we can all be safe through the build season, leading to some of our remote events here in Alberta. With that being said, in Fusion, I've already got some stuff set up here. I actually have my Omni wheels already set up from the last video, and these are very simply just rigid constraint put together. And you're going to see that I'm going to use actually a lot of stuff in this video, a lot of stuff in the sense of joints, where I use rigid joints, but I don't actually join using the small 632 screws that you use in a Tetrix kit. Those are the really little ones. So we have our channel here, and often when I'm attaching two pieces of channel together, I'm actually going to put them together, and the instructions will say put a bolt here and put a bolt here. But when I join them, I'm simply going to click on one piece, spin around, and probably click on another piece, and I'm going to join them using the larger geometry, the large hole in the middle. This is fine for Fusion. For actually doing CAD, it simplifies our process so we can make sure everything lines up. Now, as a build team member, if you get plans that show something like you're seeing on the screen here, you know that you have to put some bolts into it, and you may have to put up to 4 bolts all the way around that round to make that piece work. Now, that being said, I'm going to build this basic bot just like we talked about from the Tetrix kit, except I'm going to modify 2 or 3 things. And I'll talk about them at the end and why I modified them, because this bot works really well, but there's always some things that you can make better with your robot, and that's part of this CAD process. So you can play around with it, you can test it, and you see how it works. Enjoy the CAD, and I'll talk to you at the end. And there you have it. Completed robot in CAD, ready to go. Now you'll notice that based on the guide, the Sky Stone guide for Tetrix, I've made a couple modifications to this design, and this is my personal preference, and you may want to change a few things here. One of the things is I've moved the rev hub over to the side. This is very much just a temporary change. I might have put it where it's supposed to be back here on the back of the robot, but I like to put mine a little further forward so we can still use the gyroscope and actually know where we're going in space. More on that later. That being said, there are a few other modifications you could make on this one very easily. If you've moved the rev hub, you could also move the battery. Many teams have found that this design in particular, if you're a rookie team, it tends to be balanced with all of its weight sitting right here on the motors at the back and right here on the battery at the back. And when it drives, it likes to pull wheelies if you don't have enough weight on the front here. That has happened. We'll see where we get towards the end of the build and see what our actual mechanism to play the game looks like, because it may add enough weight on the front that it might actually make this irrelevant. It might not matter, or we might find that we have some mechanisms even potentially that slide off the back and that we actually might have to move some more weight to the front. That's a problem for another day though. What we're going to do though is talk about the one other change I made here, which is that I've added a little block, a C channel, on the bottom here of the front channel, and I've also had to turn this channel 90 degrees sideways to find a place to attach it to. Reason for that is actually really simple. I like to have a robot that's a little more flat when we're building. If you look at the side profile here, these wheels will pretty much sit against the ground and it won't have that much of an angle. When you build this from the BasicBot guide, the whole robot tends to sit down with its front end a little further forward. It doesn't give you a great flat place to mount stuff, and sometimes that helps. Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it helps. Now, our goal for the next couple videos here is we're actually going to take the more advanced StudicaBot, we're going to take the basic Tetrix bot here, and we're going to take these designs and have a bunch of people build different shooting mechanisms that we can bolt onto these to actually make them function. And then we're going to actually go out and build them. That's what this CAD's been about. If you want to ask any questions, feel free to go onto the Discord that's listed on the bottom of this video and check out any of the links in the bottom to ask those questions, and happy building. Go out and be game changers.